He was a broke, widowed carpenter, praying for a miracle. She was the ruthless CEO of the city's biggest empire. They lived in different worlds, separated by glass ceilings and security guards. But when Liam Bennett walked into her office to fix a broken shelf, he didn't expect to see a ghost from his past. He didn't expect to see the ring, a twisted piece of copper wire he made when he was 10 years old, hanging around the neck of the most powerful woman in New York. The moment he froze, he realized the cold billionaire wasn't a stranger. She was the girl he promised to marry 20 years ago, and she had no idea who he was. This is the story of a promise that survived the fire and the lie that almost destroyed them both. The rain in Seattle didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime slicker. Liam Bennett sat in the driver's seat of his 2014 Ford F-150, the engine idling with a rhythmic rattle that sounded suspiciously like a dying lung. He checked his reflection in the rearview mirror. His eyes were tired, dark circles, carved deep by months of insomnia and double shifts. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to tame the unruly brown waves, and adjusted the collar of his best button-down shirt. It was frayed at the cuffs, but it was clean. "Daddy, are you sad?" The voice from the back seat was small, barely audible, over the rain drumming on the roof. Liam turned, softening his expression instantly. Maya, his 6-year-old daughter, was clutching her worn-out stuffed rabbit, Mr. Hops. "No, sweetie, I'm not sad," Liam lied, putting on the smile he reserved just for her, the one that said everything is under control. "I'm just focused. This is a big job today. If Daddy gets this contract, we can fix the heater. Maybe even get pizza tonight. The kind with the stuffed crust." Maya's eyes lit up. "Promise? Promise." He hated making promises he wasn't sure he could keep, but since his wife Sarah had passed away 2 years ago from an aneurysm that struck without warning, promises were the only currency Liam had left. He was a master carpenter, an artist with wood, but the medical bills had decimated them. He was currently drowning in debt, living in a cramped apartment, where the landlord, Mr. Henderson, was 3 days away from serving an eviction notice. He needed this job. The destination was the Kensington Tower, a monolith of steel and glass piercing the grey skyline. It was the headquarters of Kensington Global, a conglomerate that owned everything from shipping lines to tech startups. The CEO, Viviana Kensington, was a phantom. The tabloids called her the Ice Queen of the Pacific. No husband, no kids, no public friends, just profit margins and hostile takeovers. Liam grabbed his toolbox. It was heavy, scratched, and dependable, unlike his luck. "Mrs. Gable is going to watch you at the daycare downstairs, okay?" Liam said, as he lifted Maya out of the truck. "Be good. Draw me a picture." "I'll draw a house," Maya said. "Ideally with a pool." Liam chuckled a dry sound. "Ideally." Walking into the lobby of Kensington Tower was like stepping onto another planet. The air smelled of expensive perfume and ozone. The floors were marble, so polished they looked like water. Liam, in his work boots and canvas jacket, felt like a stain on a wedding dress. He approached the reception desk. The receptionist, a young man with a headset and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass, didn't even look up. "Name, Liam Bennett, Bennett Carpentry. I'm here for the executive suite renovation. The custom shelving unit." The receptionist tapped a manicured finger on a keyboard. "You're late, Mr. Bennett. 9:00 a.m. means 9:00 a.m. It is 9:02. The elevator took a while. "Security check," Liam murmured, shifting his weight. "Go up, 40th floor." Don't speak to Miss Kensington unless spoken to. Don't make eye contact if she's on the phone. And for the love of God, don't make a mess." Liam nodded, his jaw tightening. He took the service elevator, squeezing in between a catering cart and a janitor. As the numbers climbed 20, 30, 40, his ears popped. The 41st floor was silent. Not the silence of an empty room, but the heavy, insulated silence of immense power. The carpet was thick enough to swallow his footsteps. He was met by an assistant, a nervous woman named Jessica, who looked like she hadn't slept in a week. "You're the carpenter," she whispered, eyeing his toolbox. "Okay, listen. She's in a mood. The merger with Oakhaven fell through this morning. Just go in, measure the wall, give the quote, and get out. Do not engage." "Understood," Liam said. Jessica opened the double mahogany doors. The office was vast. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city he struggled to survive in. At the center of the room, behind a desk that cost more than Liam's truck, sat Viviana Kensington. She didn't look up. She was typing furiously on a laptop, a Bluetooth earpiece blinking in her ear. "Sell the division. I don't care about the legacy costs, just liquidate it," she said. Her voice was a low contralto, smooth but sharp as a razor. "If they complain, remind them who owns the debt." "Goodbye." She ripped the earpiece out and tossed it onto the desk. Finally, she looked up. Liam felt the breath hitch in his throat. She was striking, not just beautiful in the magazine way, but intense. Jet black hair cut in a severe bob, pale skin, and eyes the color of stormy seawater. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that looked like armor. "You're staring," she said. Liam blinked. "Sorry." "Liam Bennett. I'm here about the library wall." Viviana leaned back, crossing her arms. She looked him up and down, analyzing him like a balance sheet. "You have great reviews, Mr. Bennett, but you're a one-man operation. This is a high-security office. Why should I trust you?" "Because I need the money." Liam said the truth, slipping out before he could stop it. "And because I don't cut corners. You want that wall to look like it's been there for 100 years. I'm your guy. You want cheap IKEA veneer, call someone else." Viviana paused. A flicker of surprise crossed her face. She wasn't used to bluntness. "Fine," she said, standing up. "Show me what you can do. The wall is over there." She walked around the desk. As she moved, she stumbled slightly, just a tiny trip on the edge of the carpet. Her hand flew to her chest to steady herself, and for a split second a silver chain slipped out from beneath the silk blouse. Dangling from the chain wasn't a diamond. It wasn't a ruby. It was a piece of copper wire twisted clumsily into a circle with a cheap chipped blue glass bead caught in the center. Liam froze. He dropped his tape measure. It hit the floor with a loud clack. Viviana quickly tucked the necklace back into her shirt, her face flushing with a rare embarrassment. "Clumsy," she muttered. She looked at Liam, her eyes narrowing. "What is wrong with you?" Liam couldn't breathe. The room spun. He knew that ring. He had made it. 22 years ago, in the basement of the St. Jude's foster home in Chicago. The memory hit Liam with the force of a physical blow. Chicago, 1998. It was cold, the kind of cold that seeped into your bones and stayed there. 10-year-old Liam was sitting under a workbench in the basement of St. Jude's. It was his hiding spot. Upstairs, the foster father, Mr. Gantry, was on a rampage again, yelling about spilled milk or mud on the floor. Liam was safe down here. He had his tools, stolen scraps from the maintenance closet. He was twisting a piece of copper wire he'd pulled from a broken radio. "Is it safe?" a whisper. Liam looked up. A girl was peeking around the furnace. She was new, skinny with knobby knees and big, terrified eyes. She had bruises on her arm that she tried to hide with her sleeves. Her name was Sophie. Not Viviana. Just Sophie. "Yeah," Liam whispered back. "Come in. He won't look here." She crawled in beside him. She was shivering. Liam took off his oversized flannel shirt and put it around her shoulders. "I hate it here," she sobbed quietly. "I want to go home." "I know," Liam said. "Me too." "They said nobody wants us," she sniffled. "They said we're broken." "We're not broken," Liam said fiercely. "We're just under construction." He held up the copper wire he had been working on. He had found a blue glass bead in the driveway earlier. It was actually a piece of a shattered 7-Up bottle that had been tumbled smooth, but to them it was a sapphire. He twisted the wire around the glass, securing it. "Here," Liam said, sliding the crude ring onto her finger. It was way too big. "What is it?" Sophie asked, wiping her eyes. "It's a promise ring," Liam said, his voice solemn. "My dad gave one to my mom before he died. He said it means you never leave someone behind." Sophie looked at the twisted metal mesmerizing in the dim basement light. "You promise?" "I promise," Liam said. "When we grow up, I'm going to be a rich builder. I'll build a giant house, and I'll marry you, Sophie. And no one will ever yell at us again." She giggled a wet, watery sound. "You'll marry me?" "Yeah." "Deal." She nodded. "Deal." 2 weeks later, the fire happened. A faulty heater in the main hall. The chaos. The smoke. Liam had been dragged out by a firefighter, kicking and screaming, looking for Sophie. He was shipped to a different home the next morning. He never saw her again. He thought she was gone. Back in the office. Liam stared at the woman in front of him, the ice-cold CEO. Viviana Kensington. Sophie. It couldn't be. Sophie was shy, broken, sweet. This woman was a shark in Louboutins, but the ring. Nobody else had that ring. That specific twist in the wire, the way he'd looped it twice on the left side, because he messed up the tension. It was unique. "Mr. Bennett," Viviana snapped, snapping her fingers in front of his face. "Are you having a stroke? Pick up your tape measure." Liam shook his head, clearing the fog. He bent down his heart, hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He couldn't say it. "Hey, remember me? We were foster kids. She was a billionaire. He was a guy about to be evicted. She would think he was a stalker or a con artist trying to leverage a coincidence." "Sorry," Liam rasped, standing up. "Low blood sugar. I'm fine." Viviana watched him, her gaze calculating. She didn't recognize him. Why would she? He had been a scrawny kid with a shaved head back then. Now he was broad-shouldered, bearded, and covered in sawdust. "Do the job, Mr. Bennett," she said coldly, turning back to her desk. "I have a meeting with the board in 20 minutes. If you make noise, you're fired." Liam moved to the wall, his hands shaking as he pulled out his pencil. He started measuring, but his mind was racing. Why does she still wear it? If she was so cold, so moved on, why wear a piece of trash jewelry worth less than a penny under a $1,000 blouse? Just then the office doors swung open without a knock. A man strode in. He was handsome in a slick, oily way. Blonde hair gelled back, wearing a suit that cost more than Liam's life earnings. This was Preston Hayes. Liam recognized him from the business magazines in the dentist's waiting room. He was Viviana's fiancé and her biggest competitor recently merged. "Viviana, darling," Preston boomed, his voice filling the room. He didn't even glance at Liam. To men like Preston, Liam was furniture. "Preston," Viviana said, her voice tightening. She closed her laptop. "I told you I'm working." Preston walked around the desk and leaned over her, placing a hand on her shoulder. It looked possessive, heavy. "And I told you that you need to sign the transfer papers for the logistics division. My father is getting impatient." "I'm not signing them yet. The valuation is off," Viviana said, pulling away slightly. "Don't be difficult, Soph." Preston's voice dropped, becoming sickly sweet, but laced with venom. "You know how stress affects you. You don't want another episode, do you like, last year?" Liam paused his measuring. Episode Viviana went rigid. "I am fine, Preston." "Of course you are." Preston smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He reached out and fingered the collar of her blouse. Viviana flinched. "By the way, we have the gala tonight. Wear the diamond choker I gave you, not whatever cheap trash you keep hiding under there." Viviana's hand instinctively went to her chest, protecting the hidden copper ring. "Get out, Preston." Preston laughed, patted her cheek, and turned to leave. As he walked past Liam, he kicked Liam's toolbox. It wasn't an accident. "Oops," Preston sneered. "Keep it tidy, worker B." He left. The heavy doors clicked shut. The silence returned, but now it was vibrating with tension. Liam looked at Viviana. She was staring at the door, her hands clenched into fists on the desk. She was shaking. Liam shouldn't speak. He really, really shouldn't speak. He needed this check. He needed to feed Maya. But he remembered the girl in the basement. "He's wrong, you know," Liam said quietly. Viviana's head snapped toward him. Her eyes were dangerous. "Excuse me." Liam stood up, holding a piece of oak trim. "The valuation isn't the only thing that's off, and that trash he talked about." Liam nodded toward her chest. "Sometimes the things that look the cheapest have the most value. Because they're real." Viviana stared at him. For a moment the mask slipped. He saw the scared girl again. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Just the carpenter," Liam said, turning back to the wall. "I'll have this frame done by lunch." Viviana didn't fire him. She sat there watching him work her hand, clutching the copper ring through the silk of her shirt. But the drama was just beginning, because Liam didn't know that Preston wasn't just a bad fiancé. He was embezzling millions from Kensington Global, and he was setting Viviana up to take the fall. And by recognizing that ring, Liam had just walked into the middle of a war zone. By 8:00 p.m., the Kensington Tower was a ghost ship floating in the sky. The cleaning crews were humming vacuums on the lower floors, but up on the 40th it was dead silent. Liam was still there. He hadn't planned to be. He was supposed to pick up Maya at 5:30, but Mrs. Gable had called offering to keep Maya overnight because her own granddaughter was visiting and wanted a playmate. It was a small mercy that saved Liam from driving across town in rush-hour traffic, but it also meant he had no excuse to leave, and he needed the overtime pay. He was working on the intricate molding of the mahogany bookshelf behind Viviana's desk. Viviana was still there too. She hadn't moved for 4 hours. The only sound in the room was the soft scratch of Liam's sandpaper and the rhythmic clicking of her keyboard. "You work too much," Liam said. The silence was driving him crazy. Viviana didn't stop typing. "Rich coming from the man sanding a shelf at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. I get paid by the hour. You get paid by the... Well, I don't actually know how billionaires get paid. Direct deposit." Viviana stopped. She rubbed her temples, sighing deeply. The armor was cracking. I don't get paid, Mr. Bennett. I get sued. I get audited. I get scrutinized. She spun her chair around to face the window, looking out at the glittering city. And please stop sanding. The noise is giving me a migraine. Liam set the sandpaper down. He wiped his hands on his rag. You should go home. Rest. I can't go home, she murmured almost to herself. It's too quiet there. The silence makes me think. Think about what? About the fire. The word hung in the air. Liam's heart skipped a beat. She remembered the fire. Of course she did. Trauma like that didn't just vanish. The fire, Liam asked carefully, stepping closer. I lost my parents in a house fire when I was very young. Viviana said, her voice detached, reciting a script she had told the press 1,000 times. Then I was in the system. Then I was adopted by the Kensingtons. End of story. No, Liam thought. That's not the story. You were in St. Jude's. We were in the basement. Do you remember anything before the Kensingtons? He asked. Viviana touched the copper ring under her shirt again. It was a nervous tick. Flashes, smoke. Being cold, a boy. She frowned, her brow furrowing in pain. The doctors said I have dissociative amnesia. My brain blocked out the details to protect me. I just remember a promise. Someone promised to keep me safe. She let out a bitter laugh. Childish nonsense. It's not nonsense if it kept you alive, Liam said softly. Viviana turned back to him, her eyes searching his face. For a second, just a second, she looked like she might ask him who he really was. The air between them charged with an electric current that had nothing to do with the storm outside. But the moment was shattered by a vibration. Viviana's phone buzzed on the desk. She looked at the screen, and her face hardened. It's Preston. She ignored it. Liam turned back to the bookshelf to give her privacy, but as he pried a loose piece of baseboard away from the wall to level it, something metallic glinted in the gap between the drywall and the wood. It wasn't a nail. Liam frowned. He reached into the dark crevice with his needle-nose pliers and tugged. A thin black wire came loose, attached to a small circular device no bigger than a quarter. A red light blinked on it, slow and steady. It was a listening device, a bug, and it was hardwired into the building's power supply, so it would never run out of battery. Liam froze. He looked at the device, then at Viviana, then at the location. It was perfectly positioned to capture audio from her desk. Ms. Kensington, Liam said, his voice dropping an octave. Don't say anything important. Viviana looked up, annoyed. What? Liam held up the device. Viviana's eyes went wide. She stood up, knocking her chair back. She walked over, snatching the device from his pliers. She inspected it, her face draining of color. Is that? A transmitter, Liam confirmed. High-end, not something you buy at a spy shop. This is corporate espionage grade, and judging by the dust on the wire, it's been there for months. Viviana stared at the blinking red light. Preston, she whispered. The realization was a physical blow. He's been listening to everything. My strategy meetings, my calls with the lawyers, She looked at Liam with horror. He knows the merger is a trap. I was planning to expose his cooked books next week. But if he knows, Liam finished, he's already 5 steps ahead of you. Suddenly, the office lights flickered and died. The electronic locks on the heavy double doors clicked. Clack. Total darkness engulfed the 41st floor, save for the ambient city light bleeding through the windows. "What's happening?" Viviana's voice trembled. "Security override," Liam said, his survival instincts from years of construction sites and rough neighborhoods kicking in. "Someone cut the power to this floor. We're locked in." "My phone." Viviana reached for it. "No signal." "How is there no signal?" "Signal jammer," Liam said grimly. He moved to the window. "Someone doesn't want us calling for help." Why? "Because you found the bug," Liam said. He grabbed his heavy steel hammer from his belt. "Or rather, I did. And Preston or whoever is listening on the other end didn't like that." Viviana backed away until she hit the wall. She was trembling. The Ice Queen was gone. She was Sophie again, the terrified girl in the basement. Her breathing became jagged, shallow gasps. I can't breathe," she gasped, clutching her chest. "It's dark. It's like the fire, the smoke." She was having a panic attack, a bad one. Liam dropped his tools and crossed the room in 2 strides. He found her in the dark, sliding down the wall to the floor. He knelt beside her. "Viviana, listen to me," he said firmly. "There is no fire. You are safe." "I'm alone," she whimpered. "I'm always alone." "You are not alone," Liam said. He took her hands. Her skin was freezing. Look at me, Sophie." He used her real name. She didn't even notice. She was too lost in the flashback. "Breathe with me," Liam commanded. "In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, just like we practiced." He didn't think. He just acted on instinct, reverting to the method he had used 22 years ago, when the foster father's yelling got too loud. Liam started to hum. A low, rumbling hum against her hands. It was a specific tune, a lullaby his mother used, to sing one he had hummed to Sophie in the dark basement while they twisted copper wire. The river flows." Viviana's gasping hitched. She went still. The tune. It cut through the panic like a beacon in the fog. She lifted her head in the darkness, her eyes locking onto the silhouette of the man in front of her. The smell of sawdust and rain. The rough, calloused hands holding hers. The melody. "Liam," she whispered. It wasn't a question asked to a stranger. It was a question asked to a ghost. "Yeah." "Sophie." Liam whispered back, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm here. I've got you." For a long moment, the world stopped. There was no corporate sabotage, no locked doors. No millions of dollars at stake, just 2 kids from the system finding each other in the dark. Viviana reached out her trembling fingers, tracing the line of Liam's jaw. You came back." "I never wanted to leave," Liam said. "They took me. I tried to find you, Sophie, for years, but the records were sealed. And then you became Viviana Kensington." "I waited." She choked out a tear sliding down her cheek. "I waited by the gate for 3 weeks." "I know. I'm sorry." "You promised," she whispered, twisting the ring on her necklace. "You promised you'd marry me and build a house." "I haven't built the house yet," Liam said, a sad smile visible in the moonlight. "And I'm definitely not rich." "I don't care," she said fiercely, grabbing his shirt. "You're real. You're actually here." Before they could say more, a heavy thud resonated against the office doors. Someone was trying to force them open. The spell broke. Reality came crashing back. "Preston's goons," Liam said, standing up and pulling Viviana with him. "They're coming for the bug. They can't let you have proof of the surveillance." "Security," Viviana asked. If Preston is as deep as I think he is. He owns security tonight, Liam said. He looked around the room. We need to get out. Is there another exit? The private executive elevator. Behind the bookshelf. The bookshelf I just dismantled. Yes. Liam cursed. Okay, we move the frame. Help me. They ran to the wall. The heavy mahogany unit was half detached. Liam wedged his shoulder against it. Push! Together the billionaire and the carpenter shoved the heavy wood. It groaned and slid aside, revealing a sleek silver elevator panel. Viviana pressed her thumb to the biometric scanner. Access denied. System lockdown. He locked the elevator too, Viviana said, panic rising again. Okay, plan B, Liam said. He looked at the main doors. They were bowing inward under the force of a battering ram. It wouldn't hold much longer. Liam ran to the floor-to-ceiling window. This glass is impact-resistant, right? It's hurricane-proof, Viviana said. Why? Because the fire escape for the maintenance crew is on the terrace below us, floor 39. There's a ledge. You want to jump? Viviana looked at him like he was insane. I want to climb. I have rope in my toolbox. Liam, we are 40 stories up. And there are men with likely very bad intentions about 5 seconds away from breaking that door down. Do you trust me? Viviana looked at the door, then at Liam. She looked at the copper ring hanging around her neck, the symbol of the only safety she had ever known. I trust you, she said. Liam grabbed his toolbox. He pulled out a coil of heavy-duty nylon rope he used for hoisting lumber. He tied one end around the heavy marble leg of Viviana's desk. He tied the other end around his waist, then made a loop for her. Put this on. Tight. He grabbed his hammer. Stand back. He didn't hit the glass. He hit the metal frame mechanism at the corner, shattering the locking seal. With a grunt of exertion, he forced the heavy window pane to swing outward into the windy, rainy night. The wind roared into the office, scattering papers everywhere. Come on, Liam yelled over the gale. He helped Viviana onto the ledge. The city of Seattle sprawled below them, a grid of lights dizzyingly far away. The rain lashed at their faces. Don't look down, Liam shouted into her ear. Look at me. Just look at me. They shimmied along the narrow ledge. Liam moved with the confidence of a man who had spent his life on scaffolding. Viviana clung to him, her knuckles white. Above them in the office window they had just left, the doors burst open. 3 men in dark tactical gear rushed in. They saw the open window and the rope. One of them leaned out. He had a gun. Go drop! Liam yelled. He grabbed Viviana, and they slid down the rope, dropping 15 feet to the terrace of the 39th floor. They landed hard on the concrete, rolling to absorb the impact. A bullet pinged off the railing above their heads. Liam dragged Viviana behind a large AC unit. Stay down. He pulled out his phone. Still no signal. But the 39th floor was a different company, a law firm. The lights were on inside. Liam used his hammer to smash the glass door of the terrace. The alarm blared instantly. Whoop! 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 That's good! Liam panted, helping Viviana through the shattered glass. Police will come for the alarm. They ran through the empty law office, making their way to the stairwell. They didn't stop running until they reached the lobby 39 flights down. They burst out onto the street, soaked, shivering and gasping for air. The rain washed away the dust and the fear. A police cruiser was already pulling up to the curb, sirens wailing, responding to the break-in alarm Liam had triggered. Viviana slumped against the brick wall of the building, sliding down until she hit the sidewalk. She began to laugh, a hysterical, relieved laugh. Liam slid down next to her. You okay?" She looked at him, her hair plastered to her face, her $5,000 suit ruined. She looked beautiful. "You really didn't build the house yet?" she asked, a smile tugging at her lips. "I'm working on it." Liam grinned. "I've got the blueprints in my head." Viviana reached out and took his hand. "Preston is going to pay for this. I'm going to bury him." The CEO was back, but the ice was gone. There was fire in her eyes now. "I'll help you," Liam said. "But first, I need to pick up my truck. It's parked around the back." Viviana squeezed his hand. "Take me with you. I can't go to my apartment. He'll be waiting there." Liam hesitated. His apartment was a shoebox. It was in a bad neighborhood. It wasn't fit for a queen. "Viviana, I live in a walk-up in the East End. The heater is broken. It's not your world." "My world just tried to kill me," Viviana said firmly. "I want to go to yours." The drive to Liam's apartment was quiet. Viviana fell asleep almost instantly in the passenger seat of the rattled Ford F-150. Liam drove with one hand on the wheel, the other keeping Mr. Hops Meyer's stuffed rabbit, which she had left in the car, from falling onto Viviana. When they arrived, Liam had to wake her up. She looked disoriented, then remembered. They walked up the 3 flights of stairs. The hallway smelled of boiled cabbage and old cigarettes. Liam unlocked his door, bracing himself for her reaction. The apartment was tiny. A living room that doubled as a dining room, a kitchenette and 2 small bedrooms. But it was clean, and it was filled with warmth, not from a heater, but from the life inside. Meyer's drawings covered the walls. There were wooden toys everywhere, handmade by Liam. "It's cozy," Viviana said, stepping inside. "It's small," Liam corrected. "I'll take the couch. You can have my room. I'll change the sheets." "Liam," she stopped him. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Liam said, checking the lock on the door. "Preston knows I'm the carpenter. He knows my face. By morning, he'll know my name. We're in this together now." The next morning brought a new complication. Liam woke up to the smell of burning toast. He jumped off the couch, rushing to the kitchen. Viviana was standing there, wearing one of his oversized t-shirts, staring helplessly at the toaster. I don't know how to use this model," she admitted, looking defeated. "My chef usually makes breakfast." Liam couldn't help it. He laughed. It was the first genuine laugh he'd had in years. "It's a toaster, Soph. You push the lever down." Before she could retort, the front door opened. Mrs. Gable walked in, holding Meyer's hand. "Liam, I brought her back early. She was fussing about—" Mrs. Gable stopped. She looked at Liam shirtless. She looked at Viviana, wearing Liam's shirt. She looked at the burnt toast. Meyer dropped her backpack. She stared at Viviana with wide, curious eyes. "Daddy," Meyer asked, "who is the lady? Is she the tooth fairy?" Viviana looked at the little girl. Meyer had Liam's eyes. Viviana knelt down, ignoring the crumbs on the floor. She wasn't the CEO now. She was just a woman, looking at the daughter of the man she loved. "Hi," Viviana said softly. "I'm not the tooth fairy. I'm an old friend of your daddy's, from when we were little like you." Meyer tilted her head. She pointed a small finger at Viviana's chest. "You have a wire ring," Meyer said bluntly. "Daddy makes those too, but he says they are practice rings." Viviana looked down at the necklace. She smiled, tears pricking her eyes. This isn't a practice ring, sweetie. This is the most important ring in the world. Maya walked closer and whispered, "Does that mean you're gonna marry him? Because he promised me a mom, but he takes a long time to build stuff." Liam choked on his coffee. Viviana looked at Liam, her face flushing pink. "We have a lot of work to do first," Viviana said, looking at Liam with a determination that could topple empires. "But we build things to last. Right, Liam?" "Right," Liam said. But the domestic bubble was about to burst. Liam's phone rang. An unknown number. He answered it. "Mr. Bennett." Preston's voice slithered through the speaker. "Did you enjoy your little stunt last night? I hope so. Because I just bought the building you live in, and I'm scheduling a demolition crew for noon. You have 2 hours to get out or get buried." The war had followed them home. The threat wasn't empty. 10 minutes after the call, the rumble of heavy machinery shook the coffee in Liam's mug. Liam moved to the window. Down on the street, a massive yellow bulldozer was idling at the curb, flanked by 2 black SUVs. Men in hard hats were already putting up orange fencing. "He can't do this," Viviana said, her voice rising in panic. "Eviction notices take months. There are laws. There are tenant rights." Liam turned away from the window, his face grim. "Men like Preston don't follow laws, Viviana. They buy them. He probably owns the holding company that owns the bank that owns this building. He's been squeezing the neighborhood for years. He just decided to pull the trigger today because I'm in the way." He looked at Maya, who was happily eating her burnt toast, oblivious to the fact that her world was about to be bulldozed. "Mrs. Gable." Liam said, his voice steady but urgent. "I need you to take Maya. Go to your sister's place in Tacoma. Take the back fire escape. Do not stop for anything." Mrs. Gable, a woman of steel forged in the 70s, didn't ask questions. She saw the look in Liam's eyes. "Grab your bag, Peanut," she told Maya. "We're going on an adventure." "But I want to play with the lady," Maya protested. Viviana knelt down. She unclasped the copper necklace, the one she hadn't taken off in 20 years, and placed it in Maya's small hand. "Keep this safe for me," Viviana whispered. "It's magic. It keeps the bad guys away. I'll come get it back when we're done." Maya's eyes went wide. She nodded solemnly, clutching the wire ring. "Okay. I promise." "Go," Liam said. Mrs. Gable hustled Maya out the back door. Liam watched them go, a piece of his heart leaving with them. Then he turned to Viviana. "We have 5 minutes before they come up those stairs," he said. "Grab what you need. We're leaving." "Where can we go?" "He'll find us. He has tracking on my phone, my cards." Viviana looked at her purse like it was a venomous snake. "Leave the phone. Leave the purse," Liam ordered. He grabbed his toolbox and a heavy canvas duffel bag. "We go where money can't track us. We go underground." They slipped out the side window onto the rusted fire escape, just as the front door of the apartment building was kicked in. They heard heavy boots thundering up the stairs. "Clear every room!" a voice shouted. "Boss wants the carpenter found." Liam led Viviana down the alleyway, moving through the shadows of the city he knew better than any billionaire. They navigated through back streets, cut through a Chinese restaurant's kitchen, where the owner waved at Liam without batting an eye, and finally descended a set of concrete stairs into an abandoned subway maintenance tunnel. It was damp, dark, and smelled of rust. Viviana shivered, hugging her arms. She was still wearing Liam's flannel shirt and her ruined suit trousers. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice echoing. "Old Line 4, Liam said, turning on a flashlight. "They shut it down in the 90s. I store some excess materials down here." They walked for 10 minutes until they reached a heavy steel door. Liam unlocked it. Inside was a workshop. It was raw industrial, but lit by warm string lights powered by a generator. There were stacks of beautiful reclaimed wood, half-finished furniture, and blueprints pinned to the walls. "This is my shop," Liam said. "Rent-free." Viviana walked around, running her hand over a smooth oak table. "You made all this. It's what I do. I take broken things and make them strong again." Viviana stopped at a workbench. On it lay a newspaper from that morning. The headline screamed, "Kensington Global CEO suffers mental breakdown. CFO Preston Hayes to assume interim control." Viviana picked up the paper, her hands shaking. "He didn't just try to kill me," she whispered. "He killed my life. He's telling the world I'm crazy. He's using my trauma, the fire, against me." She sank onto a stool, burying her face in her hands. "It's over, Liam. He has the board, the money, the narrative. I'm just a mentally unstable woman who ran off with a handyman. If I go back, they'll institutionalize me. If I stay here, I have nothing." Liam set his toolbox down with a heavy thud. He walked over to her, placing his hands on her shoulders. "You have nothing?" he asked. He pointed to the wall. Pinned there was a drawing Maya had made. A stick figure man, a stick figure girl, and a house with a pool. "You have the truth," Liam said, "and you have me. And I happen to know the ventilation schematics of the Kensington Tower better than the architect who designed it." Viviana looked up. "Why?" "Because before I was a carpenter, I was the foreman on the HVAC install for that building. I know every duct, every crawl space, and every server room access point." He pulled a large blueprint tube from a shelf and unrolled it on the oak table. Dust motes danced in the flashlight beam. "Tonight is the gala, right?" Liam asked. "Yes, the annual shareholders' ball. Preston is going to announce the merger live at 8:00 p.m. "Then we have 6 hours," Liam said, looking at his watch, "to break into the most secure building in Seattle, bypass a private army of security, and get you on that stage before he opens his mouth." Viviana looked at the blueprints. Then she looked at Liam. The fear in her eyes began to recede, replaced by the cold, sharp intellect that had built an empire. "He keeps the real accounts on a localized server in the penthouse," she said, tapping a spot on the map. "Air-gapped, meaning it can't be hacked from the outside. If we can get a flash drive into that server, I can project the embezzlement records onto the giant screen in the ballroom instead of his merger announcement." "The penthouse is a fortress," Liam noted. "Elevators are biometric." "The service elevator isn't," Viviana said, "but it only goes to the catering kitchen on the 39th floor. "The 39th floor," Liam grinned. "We were just there. We need a way up to the penthouse from the kitchen, without being seen." Liam traced a line on the blue paper. "The dumbwaiter. The old mechanical lift for moving champagne bottles. It's tight, but it connects the kitchen directly to the penthouse bar." Viviana looked at him skeptically. "You want us to ride in a food lift?" "I'll grease the gears," Liam said, winking. "But we have a bigger problem. We can't walk into the gala looking like this." He gestured to their dirty clothes. Viviana stood up. She walked to a corner of the workshop where Liam had hung an old tarp. She pulled it back. Underneath wasn't wood. It was an old sewing machine and bolts of fabric canvas velvet linen. "You sew?" she asked. "I'm a single dad, Viviana. I build cabinets, I fix plumbing, and I sew costumes for school plays. I made a Triceratops suit last week." Viviana ran her hand over a roll of dark midnight blue velvet Liam had salvaged from an old theater renovation. "Can you make a dress?" she asked. Not a costume. War paint. Liam looked at the velvet, then at her. He saw the curve of her waist, the line of her neck. He had memorized her measurements yesterday when he looked at her. "I can make you look like a queen," he said, "but you'll have to handle the zippers. I'm still working on those." The Kensington Tower was a fortress of light. Limousines snaked around the block, depositing senators, tech moguls, and celebrities onto the red carpet. Paparazzi flashes popped like strobe lights. Inside the grand ballroom was a sea of diamonds and champagne. Preston Hayes stood at the center of the room, holding a glass of scotch. He looked triumphant. He was accepting condolences from a board member. "It's truly tragic," Preston said, shaking his head with practiced sorrow. "Viviana has been fighting demons for years. The pressure finally broke her. She's currently resting at a private facility in Switzerland." "And the company?" the board member asked. "Safe in my hands." Preston smiled. "The merger with Oakhaven will proceed tonight. It's what she would have wanted." Preston checked his watch. 7:45 p.m. 15 minutes until his speech. 15 minutes until total victory. The 39th floor catering kitchen. The kitchen was chaos. Chefs were screaming orders. Waiters were balancing trays of caviar. Nobody noticed two more staff members entering from the loading bay. Liam wore a waiter's uniform he'd borrowed from a laundry cart. It was a little tight in the shoulders. He carried a crate of lemons. Behind him walked Viviana. She wasn't wearing a waiter's uniform. She was wearing a trench coat, belted tightly with a baseball cap pulled low. "Elevator clear," Liam muttered into a stolen headset. They weaved through the kitchen, dodging a sous chef with a blowtorch. They reached the back corner. The dumbwaiter was a small steel hatch in the wall. "This is insane," Viviana whispered. "This is Tuesday," Liam replied. "In you go." He opened the hatch. It was a metal box barely 3 feet square. Viviana took a deep breath, shed the trench coat, and handed it to Liam. Underneath, she wore the dress. It was breathtaking. The midnight blue velvet hugged her silhouette like a second skin. Liam had structured the bodice with hidden boning, making it look like armor. But the skirt flowed like water. It was regal dark and dangerous. It didn't look store-bought. It looked forged. She climbed into the box, gathering the velvet around her. "I'll meet you up there," Liam said. "I'm taking the stairs. If the alarm goes off, I'll trigger the sprinklers to create a distraction." "Liam!" She grabbed his hand before he closed the hatch. "Be careful." "You too, Sophie. Go get 'em." He hit the button. The dumbwaiter whirred and jerked upward. Liam turned and sprinted for the service stairs. He had to take out the 2 guards at the penthouse door before Viviana arrived. The penthouse. The dumbwaiter chimed softly behind the bar. The bartender was busy flirting with a waitress and didn't notice the hatch open. Viviana Kensington stepped out. She was barefoot, her heels were in her hand to stay silent. She moved like a servant across the plush carpet of her own private sanctuary, now occupied by Preston's security team. There was 1 guard by the server room door. He was watching a football game on his phone. Viviana didn't have a weapon, but she had a heavy crystal decanter of brandy. She didn't hesitate. She wasn't the victim anymore. She swung the decanter. Thud. The guard crumpled without a sound. "Sorry," she whispered. She swiped her thumb on the server room lock. Access granted. Preston hadn't changed the biometrics yet. Arrogance was his flaw. She slipped inside. The server hummed with blue light. She found the terminal. She plugged in the flash drive Liam had given her. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She bypassed the firewall. There it was. Project Oakhaven, Ledger B, the slush fund, the bribes, the evidence that Preston was siphoning Kensington assets into offshore accounts. "Got you," she hissed. She initiated the upload. Destination, the main ballroom, projector, system, 98%, 99%. Well, well. The voice came from the doorway. Viviana froze. She spun around. Preston was standing there. He wasn't in the ballroom. He was holding a small silver pistol. "I had a feeling." Preston smirked, stepping into the room. "The alarm on the 39th floor window didn't just glitch yesterday. And you—" He looked at her dress. "You look stunning. A beautiful funeral gown." "It's over, Preston," Viviana said, standing in front of the console to block his view of the progress bar. "The police are on their way. The police work for the highest bidder." Preston laughed. "And nobody knows you're here. I'll tell them you broke in deranged and violent. I had to defend myself. A tragic end to a tragic life." He raised the gun. "Step away from the computer, Viviana." She didn't move. Upload complete. I said move. Preston cocked the hammer. Suddenly, a vent cover in the ceiling above Preston crashed down. A cloud of white dust exploded into the room. Drywall dust. And with it came Liam. He dropped from the ceiling crawl space like a vengeful angel, landing directly on top of Preston. The gun went off. Bang, shattering a server rack. Sparks showered down. Liam and Preston rolled on the floor. Preston was younger, but Liam was a man who lifted oak beams for a living. He had the strength of 10 years of hard labor behind his punch. Liam pinned Preston down and delivered a solid right hook to the jaw. Crack. Preston went limp. Liam sat up, panting, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. He looked at Viviana. "You okay?" he wheezed. "I am now," she said, rushing to him. She tore a strip from her velvet dress to press against his head. "The file?" Liam asked. "Uploaded," she said. "It's queued for the ballroom." Liam grinned, blood staining his teeth. "Then let's go join the party." The ballroom. The murmurs started first. The giant screen behind the stage, which was displaying the Kensington logo, flickered. Then instead of a merger announcement, a spreadsheet appeared. Then emails, then a video recording of Preston admitting to the embezzlement. The crowd gasped. The board members stood up. The double doors at the top of the grand staircase swung open. Viviana Kensington stood there. Liam was beside her, his waiter shirt torn, blood on his face, holding her hand. She looked battered, bruised, and absolutely magnificent. She walked down the stairs, the velvet dress trailing behind her, the cheap copper wire necklace glinting under the chandeliers brighter than any diamond in the room. The silence was deafening. She reached the microphone. She looked at the stunned crowd. She looked at the police entering from the back, finally responding to the evidence on the screen. "My name is Viviana Kensington," she said, her voice ringing clear and strong, "and I am taking back my company." She looked at Liam. "And this," she gestured to the carpenter, "is the man who built the foundation." The camera flashes exploded, but Liam didn't look at the cameras. He looked at Viviana, and for the first time in 20 years, the boy from the basement knew he was home. But as the police dragged a groggy Preston away, he screamed one last thing. "You think you won? You think this is over? Check the foster records. Liam, check who signed your transfer papers 20 years ago." Liam froze. Preston laughed manically as he was shoved into the cruiser. It wasn't a mistake. It was her father. The old man. Kensington separated you. He bought her, and he threw you away. The twist hung in the air like smoke. The ballroom was silent. The cameras were gone. The flashing lights had faded. Only scattered confetti and half-empty glasses remained. Liam and Viviana sat on the edge of the stage, exhausted and shaken. In Viviana's hand, the old copper ring turned slowly. He lied, she whispered. Preston, my father. Everything he told me was a lie. They drove through the night to the Kensington estate. At 3 a.m, they stood in the dusty library, surrounded by shadows and memories. Behind her father's portrait, Viviana unlocked the hidden safe and pulled out an old folder. Inside was a letter. She read it aloud, her voice breaking. It detailed how Arthur Kensington had arranged her adoption and paid to have Liam sent away, erased from her life. Viviana dropped the page. He didn't save me, she sobbed. He owned me, and he destroyed you to keep control. Liam nodded quietly. I spent years thinking you forgot me. I never would have, she cried. I'm so sorry. Liam took the letter and fed it into the fireplace. The paper curled and burned, turning lies into ash. It's over, he said softly. He's gone, but we're still here. He knelt in front of her and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside rested a titanium ring inlaid with copper. I promised I'd come back for you, Liam said. I'm late, I'm broke, and I come with baggage, but I keep my promises. Viviana laughed through tears. Yes, she whispered. Always yes. They married in a meadow outside Seattle. Liam had built their home himself, warm cedar walls, wide windows, and a porch filled with light. Viviana wore a simple white dress. The copper necklace rested at her throat. Maya stood beside her, proudly holding Mr. Hops. Viviana had given away her empire to build the Promise Foundation, protecting foster siblings and funding trade schools. At the altar, Liam looked at his family. I promised her once, he said. I do. Forever. As they kissed, sunlight broke through the clouds. They weren't a billionaire and a carpenter anymore. They were home. And that was everything. And that is how a simple repair job turned into a destiny reclaimed. Liam and Viviana's story reminds us that true love isn't about status money or the time spent apart. It's about the promises we make in the dark and the courage it takes to keep them in the light. They proved that no matter how much the world tries to separate us or how high the walls are built, the heart always recognizes its home. If this story touched your heart, please hit the like button. It helps more people find these stories of hope. Did you tear up when Liam pulled out the ring? Let me know your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a new drama. Share this video with someone you promised to never leave behind. Thanks for watching.